Hello everyone, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is Prehistoric Facts Extra episode number 41. This time this is going to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex Hunter versus Scavenger debate, so let's actually get right to it. First off, let's actually talk about the scientific method. So this is actually used in every single science. So if you're going to be a scientist, you have to follow this. So scientific method, you actually are going to basically do all these things here. Is system observation, so you're actually looking at how the study is going to be done, and also how the experiment is actually going to be done. Measurements, you have to take measurements, especially like say if you're a biologist, physicist, engineer, any type of scientist, any type of science. You need measurements in order for your experiment and also for your hypothesis. You do your experiment, and you collect data. That's what you need to do, is collect data and see if your hypothesis stands what you actually think stands what it is going to be, or is it going to be the opposite of your hypothesis. Then you do your formulation. So you kind of conduct what all the stuff that you gathered, and you actually show the formulas, you show what you've actually got, and you actually have all that type of stuff that you need. And also your testing, you actually have your testing, like all the, like say, graphs, and also you actually are doing doing the experiment multiple times, so that way you actually know that if you're getting the same exact results. And then of course modification of the hypothesis. So if your hypothesis has to change from what you actually thought it was going to be, then you actually have to make a little bit of changes for that. And so that's the scientific method. So let's actually get right into the debate. So the scavenger side of things. So when you actually have the T.rex versus the Tyrannosaurus Rex Hunter versus Scavenger debate, the scavenger side of things, they actually have done a lot of stuff to actually conduct their research, and also what kind of methods that they actually use. So some of the methods that they actually had to use was measurement of the orbit. So that's where the eye socket is. Femur, tibia, and metatarsal measurements. So they're actually measuring the entire leg of Tyrannosaurus Rex and its relatives. So they're determining whether or not, like say, if the femur is longer than the tibia, would suggest that this is an animal that is going to be a slow-moving animal, or if the tibia is actually longer than the femur, that could be a case that this animal could be faster. And also that's the same thing with the metatarsals. Are the metatarsals long enough to suggest that this is a fast-moving animal? The forearms. So so you actually are looking at the radius and ulna of the animal. So Tyrannosaurus Rex, we all know that Tyrannosaurus Rex and its other relatives, the Tyrannosaurs, had small arms for their body size. So their radius and ulna would actually be half the length of my radius and ulna. So they're very small, and they will measure the teeth. So you actually look at the width, the length of the teeth, and they're going to be different from other meat-eating dinosaurs. And so you actually see that the teeth of Tyrannosaurs are actually thicker than other meat-eating dinosaur teeth, where other meat-eating dinosaur teeth are kind of flat and blade-like, and they have the serrations, and Tyrannosaur teeth do have serrations, so you actually have to look at that. And also with the scavenger debate, they're using ecomorphology. So they're looking at the ecology, the entire environment, and look at all the animals that are around, and they kind of want to actually paint a picture of what the ecosystem is like for the time that Tyrannosaurus Rex lived in. Now, what you see here on the bottom of this slide is actually papers that actually are based on the scavenger hypothesis. And so you got Lambie in 1917, Halstead in 1981, you have Barsbold in 1983, Collinval in 1978, and of course Horner in 1993, 94, and 97. And Horner has actually collaborated with other paleontologists for his work in those years as well. Now, the hunter side of things is that they done a little bit more tests on this one, but they still had the same measurement, still did the same exact things that the scavenger that the paleontologist that looked at of whether or not T.rex was a Tyrannosaurus rex and its relatives or scavengers. So, like, one is the femur, tibia, and metatarsal measurements. That's going to be similar. The orbit measurement is going to be the same thing. Ecomorphology is going to be the same, but other things that the paleontologists have actually done for the hunter hypothesis is stress tests on the teeth, jaws, and skull. So they use a scanned model of a Tyrannosaurus rex skull, and they put as much stress onto the jaws, teeth, and the skull to determine whether or not if the animal can produce a really powerful bite force. And also they scan. And also another thing they do is CT scan the brain case of Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, with a lot of these, they're actually going to be looking at other specimens. So they're going to be looking at multiple specimens. So multiple specimens of Tyrannosaurus rex, Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Spletosaurus, Tarbosaurus, etc. You know, that sort of thing, because that's what they're going to be doing. And also, they're looking at regrowth of bone on prey specimens of failed attempts to capture the prey, because that's actually going to be important to know of whether or not some of the bite marks that were actually healed over by regrowth of bone from prey of Tyrannosaurus rex actually were bitten by Tyrannosaurus rex, or was it like a disease and all that? But very rarely there is fossils of prey that have been that have shown bite marks of failed attempts by Tyrannosaurus rex and other tyrannosaurs. And of course, other and also the papers that are actually done in here. So Chur in 2000, Holtz in 1995, 2000, and 2008. Now, the 2008 one, I'm actually going to talk about a little bit more later on in this program right here. Gatsy and Middleton in 1997, Farlow 1991 and 2000, Van Valkenburg and Ruff in 1987. But these are some of the papers. I didn't put all of them in, but I have citations for other papers that you guys can look at, and I'll put the citations in the description down below. So here's some pictures of some evidence right here. You can actually see here's a tooth of a Tyrannosaurus rex. It's very large. This is one from Stan, and Stan has got the most beautiful teeth of Tyrannosaurus rex you're ever going to see. I still think Stan has got the best teeth of all Tyrannosaurus rex specimens. This middle picture in the top right here, that is a Triceratops horn that has got bite marks all over it, and it's got rehealed bone growing over those bite marks, and so that is right there a failed attempt by a Tyrannosaurus rex. So this Triceratops lived to fight another day. And then this vertebrae, these are two vertebrae right here on this picture on the far right in the upper part of this slide here. These are two vertebrae that are fused together. And where the circle is right here, that is a tyrannosaur tooth embedded in the bone. And so that is a failed attempt of a tyrannosaur actually trying to capture its prey. And there's another specimen out there that actually has the bones on the top of the tail actually got bitten right here. And these two pictures right here on the bottom right here, from the bottom left into the middle right here, these are CT scans of the model of a Tyrannosaurus rex's brain. And so you are actually going to see certain features right here that would suggest is that they got pretty good hearing. So here's the inner ear, and the cochlea is pretty long. The optic nerve, which is actually right here on the bottom part of the brain right here, that is very large, so it's got good eyesight. And then you got the biggest part of the brain right here that of the senses, and that is the olfactory bulbs, and those are the sense of smell. And then right here on the bottom right is a Triceratops sacrum, and it's got multiple bite marks right here from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't remember the exact number of bite marks that this actually has, but it does show feeding behavior of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is the puncture and pull technique, and that's what you're going to see out of Tyrannosaurus Rex and most other Tyrannosaurus specimens, Tyrannosaurs in their time. More pictures, of course. So right here is Stan in the left. That's the skull of Stan, and you can see the eye sockets are facing right at you, so that shows that T-Rex has forward-facing eyes. Top picture on the right, that is Tyrannosaurus Rex arm. This is from this skeleton right here that Colossal Fossils had from the first few months that the museum was open. Ivan, and so this is a pretty cool Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. But Stan and Sue so far are my favorite Tyrannosaurus Rex specimens. So what does the evidence say for this debate? Well, first and foremost, paleontologists usually determine the anatomy of Tyrannosaurus Rex, so we actually have multiple specimens that they can use to actually determine what the skeleton looks like and what are the other physical features of Tyrannosaurus Rex are, measure all the bones and so on and so forth. But the one thing that's going to be hard to determine is behavior. Behavior is very hard to determine in the fossil record because usually behavior does not fossilize. The only time that you're going to see behavior being fossilized is if there's like a predator and prey actually fossilized together. That would suggest is that that was an interaction right there. Like say the Protoceratops and Velociraptor specimen that was found together back in the 1970s. Fossils of prey of T-Rex with bite marks showing that the carnivore fed upon its prey. And so that is the one thing that they can find on right there is that it's what Tyrannosaurus Rex has fed on, not necessarily if it's scavenged or hunted. So that's the one thing right there. And studying modern predators to see what the ratio of hunting and scavenging are. That is very important because we need to look at modern day predators to determine what past predators actually have done or probably like. So we study lions, we study hyenas, we study wolves, bears, tigers, all those, and even reptiles that can do it, birds, they look at them all. And the last one right here, impossible to know what was hunted and scavenged because the fossil record does not show that much at all. So because the fossil record tends to be pretty biased, and that is the one thing that you're going to learn in paleontology is that the fossil record can be biased, and that's what you're going to find. My thoughts on this debate: Tyrannosaurus Rex and other tyrannosauroids were both hunters and scavengers, so opportunistic predators. So because real life predators are opportunistic. There is not really a 100% scavenger or 100% hunter. So that's the one thing we got to learn about this. And so modern day predators are opportunistic. So they both hunt and scavenge. And of course, more research is needed to know what these animals were like. So more field work, more gathering of fossils, more collecting evidence about like feeding behavior and all that sorts of stuff. So that's all gonna be looked at and gathered a little bit more. But most paleontologists today would actually give you the exact same answer for whether or not when you ask them if Tyrannosaurus Rex a hunter or a scavenger, most likely they're gonna say both. It was probably both. So here are the citations. So I'll put all of these in the description down below, so you guys can actually take a good look at them. And these are mostly going to be papers, but the ones that are in black right there, those are books. So Tyrannosauria Paleobiology, it's just mostly a bunch of papers that are actually put into a book. And so you're actually going to read a lot about Tyrannosaurus Rex and Tyrannosaurs in general for that. But the bottom one right there, Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Tyrant King, edited by Peter Larson and Kenneth Carpenter in 2008. That is a very good book. It's still one of the best Tyrannosaurus Rex books out there. So go ahead and get that. It's pretty neat. But so far, that book has got pretty good research, and I recommend reading chapter 20 in that book. That is Tom Holtz's paper on showing his take into the hunter-scavenger debate. So you can actually check that out. It's a very good read, and you learn pretty good amount of evidence from this book, and also from Tom Holtz's chapter. So check that out. So the next episode will be on October 1st, 2020, and there'll be a special episode. I'll let you guys know what prehistoric animal I'm going to talk about, so stay tuned for that. And if you got any questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or just go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you actually post your questions in the comments section. Please don't send them to me on Messenger. That's only for private conversations. So if you got any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section in the Facebook page. And for you YouTubers out there, like the videos, share them if you have to any other social media platform, subscribe to the channel, and also stomp on that notification bell so that you can get weekly updates of the videos that I actually do. And also, feel free to put your questions in the comment section. I do read them all, and you get a shout out for putting your question in the comments section. And remember, keep your questions short to the point. You can also follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. It's my Twitter page. Post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of the people around you. Also, for younger people out there, to make sure you listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you could have for good education. It's very important to have good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. And right now, we're still in the pandemic, so make sure you wear a mask when you're out in public, like grocery store, gas station, and like retail stores, anything like that. Make sure you're social distancing as well, so that way you're not only just making sure that you keep yourself from getting sick, but also you're preventing other people from getting sick. So if you're sick, please stay home. Don't go outside. Don't go out to anywhere in a public place. Please stay home if you feel sick, and also wash your hands, because it's very important to wash your hands in this kind of time. And also, last thing onto this slide, please check out Colossal Fossils. And I always put the link in the description down below, so you guys can check out Colossal Fossils, and feel free to donate to Colossal Fossils, because we're looking to do virtual classes for the local area where I live in Wisconsin. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.